All right, so to gain access to our headlight connector to plug in our headlight marker adapter for amber backlit lights, we're going to need to remove the top cover from this air box, and part of that is this push pin right here. So we pop that out with a trim tool. We've got a bolt here, a small bolt here, here, and here to take the cover off. Then that's going to lift right off. Then we've got a bolt right here that holds the box against that sidewall. So we'll take that out, and then we'll press and release this connector here. And there's some little trim pieces that hold it in place, the cord there, and there's a cord here. And once we pop those out, and then we're going to have a little bit more slack here to be able to lift this box and kind of push it out of our way. We don't have to take the whole air box out. We just need room to get our hands in here to release the connector to plug in the new one. So once we take those out, it's going to be really easy to do that. And this is really easy to do this too. So we'll pop that off here real quick, and then we'll get this installed. All right, so this is our Bronco headlight parking light adapter. And this just plugs in again to the back side of the headlights. And then you plug the headlight connector right here back into it. So it just goes in between. Now we've got two sections for this. The one end, again, plugs into the headlight, and it comes out to this single connector here. And when you run it, behind here and cleanly, you can get it right under this plastic cover. You might even be able to lift it up here, I think. We'll get to that in a second. And kind of tuck it under this cover here on top of the grill. It's going to come out to about here. And you'll notice you've also got your connector here for your pass-through on your light bar. Now, it's going to come out about here, and it's going to stop, and then we have this extension cable. So there's a few different ways to do this. Most likely you're going to use this extension. You're going to plug it in here, and then you're going to continue on through that cowl. You can move, behind the headlight here and into the fender well. There's plenty of places to zip tie that up along here and behind there. And it's going to come right out there by your switch wires. And then that's going to give you the ability to plug that into your other light harnesses, such as fog lights for radiance lights or A-pillar lights that have amber backlights. Regardless of which light you have, if they have an amber backlight, that parking light / headlight adapter is going to power those in sequence with the parking lights, lock, unlock, and so on, just like on other vehicles that we have that adapter for. Now, the reason that we have this split right here instead of one long cable is because you have the ability here to plug in one of our two-way splitters for a future upgrade. And what we're looking at doing is developing a marker light add-on that you'll be able to install in your really easily, just kind of just snap it in, but we haven't gotten to that yet. But we're going to have an upgrade with a marker light, so you have the 3 marker lights here in the grill like the Raptors and such do if you wanted to. So to tap into that, if we've got that break right here, then when we have that available, all you'll have to do is plug in this splitter right there, and then you'll have access right there to plug that in. So again, that's why the break right there in that. And you could theoretically also plug it in here if you wanted to from your parking light there. But you're going to need the female type connector on the end to be able to do that. We want to keep these in sequence, where power is coming from always goes to this male type connector here, and then power being received into this female style connector, which is why we went this route. Again, you can put a different connector on here where you'd have a female to plug into that if you'd rather. But honestly, with the extension here that it comes with, it's just as easy just to tuck that along here and just run it over there and plug it right in. So we're going to go ahead and plug this in now, and we should be all set. All right, so I've got that plugged in now here to the back of our headlight here on the passenger side, as you can see hopefully there. And then I've got the cable here. And it's actually going to end up being better after I look at this to take this top grill cover off. It's really easy with some push pins, because you don't really want to sit that on top of the radiator here, and you don't want that to melt the wires. So, you know, you want to keep that clear of that. So you can bring it up right here and zip tie that. You can start it here and zip tie it along some of these harnesses and tubes here. And then we can run it right along the top of the front frame area here, where it's clear of that radiator. It can kind of sit right in here in this groove until we get it out here, and then we can plug in our extension connection. So as you can see, I've got this wire now for this marker adapter run right here on top of this front frame area, and it's snapped kind of in between these little grooves. This little slot here fits in there perfect. As a matter of fact, in some spots it kind of even holds itself in place. And when we put this cover back here on top of the grill, that should hold it in place. And then here on the other side, I've got that coming out right here. And once we put this back on, we'll be able to zip tie that and secure that to this little harness here, where we'll make our connection for our extension. But the good thing about that is we've got access to it here as well as up front. And if we ever needed to add another accessory to that, such as, like I said, the marker lights here in the grill or something like that, we can access it right there. So we'll go ahead and put this cover back here on top of the grill. All right, so now we can go ahead and put our air box back down where it goes. And we just kind of lift it up on that to get it out of our way. And there's a couple little rubber grommets in the bottom here it kind of sits in, you can see. And we also disconnected this so that we had a little bit more slack here in that line when we pulled it up. And this little piece right here, we also removed from that little slot. So there's that. And push that back in there. And then this one right here, we also used a trim tool to remove. Now we can put our bolt back in right here that holds this to the fender. We can tighten that up. And then we'll put our lid back on, put those two screws back on, and we should be all set as far as putting everything back together. All right, so now we've got our top cover back on. We've got everything put back together here with our push pins and such. We've got our airbox cover back on here as well. And now we've got our connector right here, accessible where we want it. And we've got our extension here, which we can bring up there to our switch wires now. And we can run that here, you know, like I said, behind this fender wall area. And then we can make that connection, plug it in here. And then we're ready to go with our Radiance lights, which is what we're going to install in here next. But we'll be ready here with any amber backlit or red backlit or any backlit anything that we've got to tie into that parking light marker light circuit. So that's going to be a really, really cool setup. And so we'll be ready for that next, because we were going to have access now to our parking lights from our headlights. All right, so we've got this secured now here. I went and zip tied this to another wire harness right here. I went ahead and put a loop around here, so we've got access here if we wanted to unplug that connector and plug something into it. We don't have to cut any zip ties. But I secured that to this wire harness there. We've got, it looks like the hood latch cable right there. I just went ahead and just zip tied along there. Took it up in there in the fender well and brought it right out there with the other switches. So now we have access to our parking lights there for our Radiance amber backlit lights, or any other amber backlit light that you have. You're going to be able to tie into that circuit now, so when you lock and unlock the doors, you'll be able to have that amber flash on and off. When the parking lights or the headlights are on, that amber will come on. When they're off, it'll go off, just like in our Raptor models. But I think this is going to be a pretty cool setup once we're all done. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to move on to installing the fog lights, and that should be pretty simple. Just a few bolts here in the front of the front bumper, and then we can just go ahead and install our housings that already have our lights installed in them, which was a simple task because you can do that off of the truck. And from there, we'll just, plug in our custom harness to each light and pull it right up here into this area, take it up the side of the fender and plug it into our switches, and we're going to be good to go.